All right. So what's up, y'all? How you doing? Good. That was lukewarm. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know it's getting a little bit cooler in Atlanta, so we're gonna try this one more again. How y'all doing? Great. Y'all got a bunch of dope people in front of you, and we're gonna get better. We're gonna get better in the next hour. Again, my name is Joey Womack, founder, CEO of Goodie Nation. I'm a natural convener of people. I kind of naturally connect folks, turn relationships into communities, turn communities into ecosystems. Launched a startup at college. I went to FAMU, where I met Antonia back in the day. Kept on doing that full time after I graduated, built the top 5 in that particular space. And for the past 15 or so years, I really focus on supporting both diverse founders and social entrepreneurs from all backgrounds. I do a few things in the startup community, including leading Goodie Nation. We're like a post accelerator for diverse founders, connecting them to capital and coaches and blah, 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 blah. 500 startups across the U.S. and also outside. So if you think about it, it's like where we sit, we're like post-Techstars, but also pre-Endeavor. Our goal is to help founders make progress, right? So tonight we're going to talk about unlocking capital in down markets. And so again, we're going to get better. We're going to get better. This isn't necessarily like one-on-one, even though we can talk about that stuff. We want this to be a little more 201. So here's how it's going to go. The expectation is for this to be conversational and for you all to ask questions. Again, this is how we get better. In a second, we're going to do some quick intros. Then we're going to get into the meat of the conversation, 20 or so minutes, and then we'll go into Q&A. But if you have a burning question, feel free to raise your hands and then ask them the hard questions, because hard questions is how we get better. All right? The reason why I committed, and I'll stop and then we'll get to the intros. The reason why I committed to this, at Goodie Nation, we're focused on closing what we call this relationship gap. Now, this is the lack of, the gap is the lack of connection between entrepreneurs and influential people in business, particularly in the innovation space. I don't think it would be a surprise to you that diverse founders, particularly Black founders, experience this gap at a larger clip than their counterparts. But what it means is that they don't have access to as much capital, people to hire, customers, and also information. And information, which is what this is about tonight, is what gives you the competitive advantage. So let's start to get into some information. But before that, we're going to start over here with Lauren. Quick intro, name, where you're based out of, few sentence description of your organization, and then we'll go to Antonia.
Hey everybody, my name is Lauren Wilson. I am the CEO and founder of ImIn Inc. So it's a company that I started, a software company, birthed out of my family's business. I was working in it's an outsourced BPO call center industry, was working in that industry, found a gap around absenteeism, which is in that industry and a lot of other industries with a high population of hourly workers. Built an application to repurpose those hours that are typically lost. So when someone does not come, typically those hours are just lost and the business cannot recoup them. So the application repurposes them to make the flexibility on the employee side so they can log in, see when hours work for them to work. And on the employer side, it's a revenue generator. So every hour that someone works is a revenue generating hour that they wouldn't have had before. So nice to see you all.
Hey everyone, I'm Antonia Dean. So I'm a principal investor at Black Operator Ventures. We go by Black Ops for short. We are a seed stage fund investing in Black tech founders across industries.
Awesome. So I'm Craig J. Lewis. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called GigWage, and I pay people. How many people like to get paid? They've got, okay, y'all like to get paid. That's cool. GigWage is a payments and payroll platform. We help businesses pay, manage, and support independent contractors, freelancers, and gig workers. So if you've got that side hustle and you get a 1099 at the end of the year, right, freelancing, side business, whatever it may be doing, we help businesses pay you in a compliant way, instantly and on demand. So if you're not a side hustler and you've got a regular job, maybe ADP pays you to do that. We're a software platform specifically focused on 1099s. I'm based in Dallas. In addition to being a full-time operator, which is where I spend about 200% of my time, the other 50% of my time is spent as an angel investor, a husband, and father of 4 beautiful daughters.
There it is. Yeah, no free time there.
None.
So Craig, let's stick with you for a second. So your fundraising journey is long and complex. Can you share first off how much you've raised and then take us through that fundraising path?
Yeah. So we've raised a little over 20 million to date, 17 and a half in venture equity, and then another 4 in venture debt. And it's been a long journey. That is across a pivot. We didn't originally start off as GigWage. We started as another company. Started off kind of, I guess if you will, bootstrapped the company, self-funded the company, cash, credit cards, hustle, all of that fun stuff. Then we raised $750,000 for the first idea. And then by the time it was time to pivot, we pivoted, rebranded, brought in a new team. We raised a $2 million seed round. Major participants in that were Steve Case and Rise of the Rest Fund, high net worth individuals and family offices. Stretched that out pretty far and pretty wide. And then we raised a $9 million Series A in January of 21, led by Green Dot Corporation. So that was corporate venture. Foundry Group was the largest investor, which is a tier 1 VC out of Boulder, Colorado. And we raised venture debt from Silicon Valley Bank back when they were still, Silicon Valley Bank. We do business with JPMorgan as well too, though. I love JPMorgan, but just to be really clear, we may do all of our business with them very, very soon. And then most recently in this particular market, which I think may be the most relevant, we've raised an additional $5 million of capital, and then some venture debt kind of getting tied to that as well too. So I've raised all kind of money. It gets, sometimes it's cheap, sometimes it's expensive. Right now it's really expensive. She talked about discipline and all that stuff. All that means is money is really expensive to raise right now. So I've seen a little bit of it all.
I love it. Lauren, let's go to you. Can you share how much you've raised and then, what that journey's been like?
Yeah, so earlier on in my journey, I'm about just over a year since I went to market. I have raised 1.1 million. So I raised 1 million in a pre-seed round, and then I was a part of Google for Startups, if you guys have heard of that, and that was a 100,000 grant.
Nice.
Not a lot of black women raise $1 million, so we need to.
Exactly. And so I want to go. So how large is the fund? And then can you share a little bit more about some of your portfolio companies and stuff like that? Then I got a follow-up question.
Absolutely. So Black Ops, we're actually still we are simultaneously raising and deploying out of Fund 1, but we are really blessed in that we have an 8-figure fund. We will go as high up as $50 million with this fund, which is remarkable for a Black-led fund because many Black-led funds are only able to raise in the single-digit millions, and we are raising in the tens of millions. Final numbers TBD, because like I said, we're still actively raising.
What about some of your, portfolio? I know you want
Sure.
to probably all of them.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So we have some great portfolio companies. Which one do I choose? Not to play favorites, because they're kind of, once you start investing, they kind of become all like your kids. So there are no favorites, but we have a number of really interesting companies. We have one called Stimulus, led by a Black woman based out of Philadelphia. Her name's Tiffany Stannard. And Stimulus is an AI-driven software that allows large corporations to actually better find and hire diverse suppliers. Most Fortune 500, 1,000 companies have remits and mandates around diversifying their supplier base, but the reality is the person who needs to bring a supplier in is going off of the people they know and the relationships they have. And so this is a software that those organizations can use to actually surface qualified suppliers that are led by women, that are led by minorities. So that's one of the companies in our platform. We have a company called Athletic out of Detroit. They are an NIL marketplace for NCAA athletes who are now able to finally monetize their name, image, likeness. And so they're able to connect those athletes. I think we talk about NCAA athletes and you think about the people who are about to go pro, but the reality is if you are the star basketball player in a small town, the car dealership down the street may be willing to hire you as a brand ambassador and as a sponsor, and so Athletic makes that happen. So those are just 2 quick examples that are top of mind from our portfolio.
Yeah, there are also Black Founders Fund recipients as well.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so again, this is about unlocking capital in down market. So before we had this conversation, we did a little prep, right? And there may be some alternating opinions on things, and we encourage that. We also encourage different opinions from you all as well. And so I want to start with you, right? Okay. You're deploying capital in this interesting environment. What are you seeing? How are you, what advice would you give founders that are raising today?
If I could have everyone here walk away with one thing, it is to do your research and know the VCs that you are pitching. For example, every VC fund has a thesis. So don't pitch your consumer company to a fund that has a thesis around B2B software. It's going to be a waste of your time. They're likely going to say no because you don't match what they told their investors, their limited partners. This is how we're going to make you 5 times the money that you give us. So do your research, and that'll help you understand what industries and sectors they invest in, what stages they invest in, how much they are willing to offer. Most of this will exist on people's websites or on their LinkedIn, or if they're active on Twitter. Like, most of this is not going to be secret info. But I would say if you can do anything, is to be really thoughtful about which VCs you're pitching and why they might make sense for your company. One, just so you can actually get the check. But I want to double click on a point that Joey made around the relationships. So Mark Zuckerberg doesn't become Mark Zuckerberg just because he had a good idea. He had a good idea. He pitched investors who were excited about that idea. And in addition to the checks, those investors helped him get the traction and the energy around the idea. Hey, you got to try this new site. Hey, you got to sign up for Facebook. You got to meet this guy. You need people like that on your cap table, who are willing to open up their phones and text their homies to say, oh, I know someone at this organization who can help you. So if I'm a healthcare company, I'm trying to talk to Erin because I know she's doing healthcare banking. I don't do healthcare investments, so I'm not really going to be able to be helpful. So really, really do your research on the investors, on their thesis, on how they invest, but look at their backgrounds. If everyone from the team came from hardcore deep tech, they can't really help you launch a CPG company. They might be able to cut you a check, but you need someone on your cap table who is going to be committed and who is going to be willing to put more than just a check on the line, but their reputation, their relationships, their access to help you build your company and keep it moving forward.
Cool. And then let's go to the founder side of things. So and Craig, I want to come to you. So are you thinking about raising again? Or you recently?
No, yeah, we just recently finished up a $5 million Series A1, and some venture debt. Later on down the line we'll raise some more money probably. Yeah.
Can you describe that experience? Was it different than when you had raised in 21?
Yeah, 21 was easy as hell. And that sounds crazy to say, but 21 was peak. Interest rates super low, money was cheap, deals were flowing, diligence was minimal, people was just getting busy. We was coming off Black Lives Matter, it was just popping in 21. Just keep it real. This time around, I tell people this is the most meaningful money I've raised to date. It was the most difficult money I've raised to date, and I feel like we earned every penny of it. Meaning, when she talks about dotting your I's and crossing your T's, we really had to build a good foundation of a business to raise this capital, even selling to our current investors. The market has completely changed and completely shifted. This is a different world and different dynamic. You talk about runway. When they say, what is the use of proceeds and what are you going to do with the capital? We were able to clearly say, look, if we don't add another dollar of revenue to GigWage with this capital, we can clearly run for 52 months. Those kind of things mattered. When we closed the round the previous month before, our net burn was $37,000. We had to do a lot of work to get really efficient as a business. And so one of the things I'll say is raising money is not about raising money. It shouldn't be. It has been over the previous couple years. It's really about building a business. The better business you build, the better foundation you have in any market, the better chances you have of raising money. And this gets lost. I got lost in the sauce too. It's I can raise money. I got these contacts. I can put a deck together. My data room is popping, all of this stuff. And doing all of that, I got distracted from building the business. And so you got to get focused in. The number one thing you can do to raise money is get as much traction, as much data, as you can on your business. That is what helps you raise money. And so for us, we spent, the 18 months prior to this last round getting our house in order, getting the business right, improving our margins from 44% to 92%, getting our head count down, decreasing operation costs by 65%, growing our ACV by 5x. We did the work. and we were able to raise the money. And it was still the most expensive money I've raised to date because it's a very difficult market. You would think with the momentum, we should have been able to get busy, and it was still very, very difficult. And that's not to be discouraging. It's actually motivating to say focus on building your business is the best way to raise money.
Interesting. So I want to point out a few things. I mean, you threw out a few numbers and terms and stuff like that. The dude knows his shit, right? He knows his shit, and so you got to be able to know that in order to raise in this tough time. Sorry. I'm sorry.
You ain't got to apologize.
I feel like we all family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I got another side of me when I can just I ain't got to do that. But I'm saying, and it was still the most difficult time he ever had, right? Lots of traction, lots of connections, knows his stuff, and still super difficult. Lauren, you have a thought, or I was going to come to you next?
No.
So let's talk about you, right? I mean, so where are you now with your fundraising journey? How are you thinking about it? Feelings, facts, all those type of things.
So I'm in the middle of a fundraiser right now. That, fingers crossed, should close by Christmas. This is my second fundraise journey this year. I got to a term sheet phase in a raise earlier this year. Ultimately decided to not go that path, which I think maybe I can double click there. But so now I'm in another race. So I'm full diligence mode right now. I think something that you touched on that stood out to me is about finding the right partner. That's ultimately why I decided to go against the first raise that I went through, because I do think that's really important. I come from an entrepreneur family. My dad is here, actually. My brother is here as well. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Gathering Spot. That's my brother's company. So I have a lot of entrepreneurs that are very close to me, and so that's been a blessing because I know the background and some of the stories of what happens when you potentially get into things that you're marrying this fund, right? So you want to do, as a founder, I think a lot of times you want them to like you so bad, but there's also things that I think we need to understand, to understand that for me as a founder, is this going to be the right partner for me in this marriage, right? So, I think I answered your question.
Hello everyone, Trey, Walter Outlet with Arterial Photography. You brought up the term marriage, and I'm a founder, I'm a co-founder, I have 2 business partners. I know we talked about marriage with VC, but on your journeys, did you all have business partners? What was your decision process in deciding to have business partners, and do you still have the same business partners you started with? If you didn't, what was that process or decision? How did that experience go?
I don't have, like you're talking about a co-founder,
Yes.
I don't have a co-founder, it's just me. It wasn't necessarily a decision. I mean, I started, like I said, I built this business in my family's business, so when I spun it out, that was just me doing that, and so I brought on team members to help me grow the business, but I was the founder of it.
This is like a great question. And I had a very specific decision and intentional about not having co-founders. Most VCs will tell you that it's probably better to have co-founders. It gives you a better chance of raising money. But what they won't tell you is the number one fail point for businesses is co-founder issues. And your question says, are they still with you? The reason you ask that question is because the vast majority of the time, the founder, CEO continues, the rest fall off, they're not as committed, they don't have the skill set to grow or whatever. So for me, it was very specific and intentional to solve the problem so that I wouldn't have a dispute by not having a person to dispute with. Now, I have to burden, in the early days before I could hire an executive leadership team, I had to burden a lot more. I didn't have anyone that I could go cry, on their shoulder, bounce ideas off of. It was all me. So there are, trade-offs there, but for me it was very specific and intentional not to have one, and I think that's a philosophical thing that I actually picked up as an early leader in another startup. It was a company called Kairos. Some of you guys may know Lightship Capital, Brian Burkeen and Candice Burkeen out of the Midwest. I got that from Brian. He was very committed to kind of this, he had co-founder issues. I joined because I was like, bro, I'm kind of like a co-founder. You need to show me some love. And he was like, nah. So I got that philosophy from him. But yeah, very intentional not to do that. And I think once you look at the most successful companies in the world, what you will find is there is a person. That's just how it ends up shaking out. So I just kind of decided to avoid that early on.
There it is. Cool. So I want to double click on some of this, the original point, Antonia, you brought up around the startup investor fit, and Lauren, you talked about it as well. We know the stats around Black founders, kind of alluded to it earlier. In good markets, it was tough, right? In a down market, it's tough for all founders. We know that for Black founders, it's even tougher. And so I think, especially for the earlier stage, like pre-seed and maybe seed stage startups, the thought process is like, I need money from somebody. Like, I know I shouldn't go outside, the areas in which some of these investors are, but I need to widen my pool a little bit to give me at least my thought process. I want to get a better chance. It may not actually do it. So how can you, and this is for anybody, how do you have that discipline to approach the right investors? When again, and kind of give advice to people out there, how do you create that discipline in order to just pitch the right folks?
I don't know if you know right off the bat, in my experience, because I was really excited when I got to the term sheet phase in the last round, and the deal kept dragging. And my dad, he told me, there's a reason. Like, there's a reason why. And I'm like, no, like, to your point, I need cash. Like, can we get this closed? And the more the time went and the deal was dragging, it was just more clear to me that I don't think that this is the right fit. So I don't know if you know that, like, just in conversation. I think those initial conversations a lot of them are the same. I tell you about me, you tell me about the fund, and what you guys do with your check size sounds great, right? And then as conversations continue, I think then that's when you can start to understand, what are your philosophies, what are your thesis, where are you trying to go with the company, and where am I trying to go, and what's my goals, and do those align with how I want to operate the company and how you want me to operate the company, right? So I think that just happens with time. That's my opinion.
Cool. Okay, so let's zoom toward the future, and so I want to come with you. Let's kind of talk about 2024, 25, because we're basically in 2024 right now. Where do you see the overall funding environment going?
That's really interesting. So 2023 has been tough. So we talked about 2021 was good. 2021, interest rates were cheap. Money was inexpensive. Quite honestly, some folks were feeling guilty. They had looked at their websites and saw like, oh shoot, let me diversify right quick. And the pullback kind of started in 22, and it has been fully here in 2023. I've talked to a number of founders who have been raising bridge rounds this year, hoping that the market conditions will get better and they can actually go out and raise the proper price round sometime in 2024. And that's a bet. And I don't know that the market conditions are going to be that much better in 2024. Like first half. I think it's probably going to take a quarter or two because people are trepidatious. People may put a lot of money out into the market in 2021 and early 2022, and now people are kind of trying to see how things are going to shake out. So that's not probably a satisfying answer. I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. But what I will say is that the points that Aaron and Craig made are always good advice. If you are running a well-oiled machine of a business, you will stand the best chance you can regardless of what the market is doing. So if your burn is pulled to you've gotten it optimized, you're not overpaying, you're not overspending, you figured out your acquisition costs, you figured out your churn, you figured out the key fundamentals of your business, you can keep operating, because the one thing about it is revenue is equity-free capital into your business. So I always say, if there are times when you're not quite sure what the market is going to do, you're not quite sure if you're going to be able to raise, focus on revenue and cost savings, because that can take 8 months of runway in the bank and make it 13 and 14 and give you the opportunity to then kind of see, is this a market condition that I can afford to go out and raise in?
Yeah, no, I love it.
So if you already run a business, the theme pretty much, I travel a bit, talk to a lot of people, a lot of different CEOs, a lot of businesses. The theme is, can you survive till 25? 24 is, I'm not going to say it's going to be bad. I'm going to say it's going to be uncertain. But let me give you the tactical reason why it's going to be uncertain. So for the last 10 months in 2023, and maybe even before this, every single fund, especially the established funds that have mature portfolios, multiple vintages of their fund, they have spent the last 10 to 15 to 18 months focusing internally on their current portcos, right? So we've invested in all of these companies. The market is shifting. Who's going to make it? Who's not going to make it? Who are we going to have? They've been trying to figure out who are the survivors, who are the winners, and who are the losers. What's going to happen, and it's starting to happen now, as they come up for air, it's not, let's exclude AI for a second. As they come up for air, besides AI, they're going to now be deploying their capital into the companies in their portco that they have decided are survivors and winners. They will be spending less time looking for new, risky things. Not everybody. I'm talking very general here, very broad, very macro. Does it not mean you can find somebody to get busy and take a new bet? Absolutely. But in general, the theme is, as an entrepreneur, can you survive until 25? Capital will be deployed. There's plenty of dry capital, but they're going to deploy it in the places that they think are winners. They already believe that only one of the 10 companies they invested in is going to return the fund. They are not looking to overly diversify right now. So again, very general, but I don't, and I'm not going to say the 24 is going to be bad. I can't predict the market that way, but what I can tell you, it will be uncertain. It's also an election year. There's a lot of things that'll come into play in 24 where you can't depend on money to be free flowing. And so that's how I would be thinking about it. And to the point that we're all kind of ringing here is, what can you do on your own? Can you ring the bells by building the business? Not by being a great pitcher and, great deck and, all this stuff. And to the point, yeah, what's their thesis? What do they do? But their job is to find you anyway. That's really their job. They're looking for deal flow. So build your business, ring the bell that way. Inbound is always better than outbound. But it's going to be an uncertain year, and you're going to have to try to figure out how can you survive until 25.
There it is. So,
this is going to be a good
one and two.
Yeah, I mean, so you hit the point around reserves, right? So, funds needing to have those reserves for their existing portfolios and being able to support them to weather through the storm. And Tony, my question is for you around valuations, right? When you think about the businesses that you have invested in.
I got that one too.
Where you invested in them, right? What that valuation looked like in 2021 versus now, and how that impacts, your psyche as a VC and just some of that sausage making for others in the room.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are a couple things happening with valuations, and part of it, honestly, as founders, you are kind of a bit at a disadvantage, because if you're on Crunchbase and you're looking at, deal flow, there's a time lag. So I've been getting pitches from people whose valuations is based on 2021 data. And I'm like, but we're now past that. And you're a pre-seed company with no customers. You're not worth $10 million, respectfully. But the challenge is you don't want to come out with a valuation that's too high, because one, investors are going to be like, well, do you really kind of know what you're working with here? It makes me question how well you know your space, your market, your business. But assuming you know all the things, you're just like, I'm really convicted. I really believe that this is what this company is worth. The other challenge for investors is, I don't make any money until you raise your next round, right? Because that's the only time I can show a markup in my fund, or if I have a secondary market and I can sell my position to someone else. But until you go to raise your next round, I've just given you the money and it's not showing as anything on my books. If you come in with a valuation that's too high, and then now you got to go out and raise a down round, which is happening. People raise a valuation of $10 million, and now they got to come back out for more money, and the market is like, well, we think this is kind of worth $8 million. Now I'm already taking a hit on the money that I've given you. So I would say, in terms of valuations, look at what's happening most recently. If your nearest competitor raised their last round 2 years ago, that valuation may not be indicative of what you can go get on the market. What I am starting to see from founders who are really convicted, who are running strong companies is that many folks are just raising the round and saying, well, I'm going to let the market price me. I feel confident. I think I'm going to end up in this range. I'm waiting to get a term sheet back. This is what I'm shooting for, but I'm going to let the market price me and see where I come back. So I'm starting to see more of that just because things have been soft. There are not as many deals getting done, and people are sensitive to not undershoot or overshoot on what they think the company is worth.
I'm going to piggyback on that as a founder who's just recently raised money. So you can basically notch every round down. So the old up round 3X is now a flat round. The old flat round is a down round. The old down round is a recap and like a complete restructure. Like, it is a much more disciplined, pragmatic market. There's no more 10X, 20X, 100X stuff. Everything is 3X to 7X markups, and that's on revenue. So if you ain't got none, that's a different conversation. It is very real. I, as a operator, had to go through this thesis of trying to raise a flat round. My investors internally were very supportive and said, if you raise at this valuation, if you can hold tight at your 21 valuation, we will participate. If you raise at the new market's rate, we will leave, right? As a founder, I had to be very disciplined and pragmatic about that decision. I stayed optimistic for a few weeks, and then I got real, right? And we went out and raised the money and gave ourselves a chance. And so it is a very pragmatic market right now. You have to be very realistic. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. As an angel investor, I have participated in my pro rata. Everything that I've done and reinvested in has been a down round, and I'm happy about down rounds because I just get diluted. Versus some of the deals I'm in, they complete recaps, pay to play, 5-to-1, like it's nuts. It is a nuts market. So again, I don't want to be like Debbie Downer dude up here, but I'm just keeping it a buck. Build a robust business so that you have a little bit more control of the dynamic, but also be very pragmatic. If you need to raise money, understand it ain't gonna be your price in this market, it's their price.
I do want to come back to, there's one other question. I want to come back to you on the angel investor side in a second. But
Oh, awesome. Let's continue keeping it above, please. So I'm taking away a lot around focus on building a sustainable business. Your best source of revenue is the customer on one hand. I just finished Techstars, and a lot of the feedback is once you turn on revenue, no matter if your burn rate looks great, your margin looks great, if that revenue is not in line with the story, in my particular case, I can either turn on revenue directly to the customer, but we're trying to be B2B. Mm-hmm. You know that's going to take a while. What does it look like for us to turn on revenue, specifically as a Black person, being pigeonholed into a lifestyle business because you did, and deciding to go, keep the momentum of the VC backed and don't mess up your story. What does that look like?
What's your goal, right? You got to ask yourself, what's your goal? We're a Techstars company too. We went through Techstars. Founder of Techstars, Brad Feld, we're backed by Foundry. They're going to tell you the VC route. They're giving you the VC angle. That's all fine and dandy. What people don't realize about VC when you play that game, because all of this is a game. When you play that game, though, it only works, to her point, if you're in the cycle. Who's the next round? Who's the next round? So if you play it for one round, I've done this, where you can raise money in this round, but you can't guarantee the next round, you're playing a game you cannot win. So you're trying, by holding off on your revenue, because you're trying to keep the momentum, the vanity metrics, the growth, the this, the that, the feature releases, that's fine for this round, but you're gonna look up and they're going to leave you on an island. You don't have, I'm just keeping it a buck. You don't have the Silicon Valley cycle of they're gonna pass it to their partner and they're gonna do the next round. I've been there. I was like, oh man, I got this investor. And then when it came time to raise money again, everybody wants 18 months of runway in the Silicon Valley game. It takes me 3 years to raise money every time I raise it. So now I got to last twice as long as everybody else to raise the next round. But I want to play the VC game. Well, you can't play the game if they're not playing by the same rules with you. So my advice to you would be, don't make decisions based off what tech stars and the VCs and everybody want. Make decisions based off of the building your business. They're going to tell you you're building a lifestyle business anyway. That don't matter what they say. Get some revenue, get some traction, get some stability. You can still build a high growth business. Just because they say you've only got $10,000 of revenue, $100,000 of revenue, that don't mean you're building a lifestyle business. That means you're figuring out with real dollars and data how to scale your business. So my advice would be, don't listen to them, because they're not going to be there when it's time for the next situation.
Okay, thank you.
But I know it's sexy though, right? The TechCrunch articles and TechStar. I've been down there. It's like money, but they ain't gonna give it to you. The data show that.
The other thing that I'm gonna say, and I am a VC. If you want to build a lifestyle business, like we poo-poo on lifestyle businesses, but if that lifestyle business is going to improve your lifestyle, your mama's lifestyle, your niece, your nephew's lifestyle, like you have to, the original point is, what is your goal? Because the investor's goal is to put in enough money now so that you can go raise more money at a higher valuation, and then they get a markup on the fund, they can sell in the secondary market, they can say, look, I did it. The investor's goal, or if they're not going to sell position, they're saying, well, I want to put in this money, but I need this company to return my whole fund, which LPs are expecting 3 to 5 at minimum. So if you're looking at a $20 million fund, that means I need every company to have potential to hit 100, because I need one to return the whole fund. That's like
20 million.
That's 20, and that's
somebody from 100 million.
And that's a small fund. 20 is a small fund in the VC world. So if you go into a big VC fund and they have 100 million, they are expecting you to be like unicorn or zebra or whatever animal metaphor we're currently using. So really, what is your goal? Because if you would be happy with $25 million a year and you see a clear path to get there, build a $25 million a year company. Like, you don't have to let an investor be like, well, no, that's nothing, I need it to be 150. Like, really think about your goal and what you want to build, and then figure out what is the best capital for you to get there. VC is an option, but it's not the only option.
There was recent data that showed that the way the math works, you pretty much can make the same amount on a $40 million exit that you can make at a $200 million exit. And you wouldn't think, and you actually might make more on the $40 million exit than you do the two. When you start to add in dilution and kind of how it all really works, how long it takes. So you've got opportunity cost, right? So anyways, I'm not telling you, I'm not trying to downsize your dream. If you want to build a unicorn, go for it, right? But I'm just saying, like, don't give in to that pressure just because tech stars who gave you $120,000 and took 6% and is saying go, whatever the economics are. That's what it was for us. But like, you ain't got. They ain't gonna be there. They don't even know how to be there. They literally are trying to figure out how to be helpful later on in life, right? So, anyways, I think you gotta do what's best for your business, not what's best for the investor community.
I love it. So again, this is all good stuff. Good stuff. JP, I'm trying to make this a little bit more. Okay, so here's the thing. We can keep on and on. There's a few kind of points we can take from this, right? Survive until 25. If you're in the audience and you're like, okay, well, maybe VC isn't the best route for this, I still need a little bit of money. There's a whole conversation on the types of capital you still need. If it's like, oh, okay, I actually want to pursue VC in a down market, well, there's a whole other conversation on what's attractive. You alluded to AI. We don't have time to get into all this because I know y'all want to get some food and some drinks, so I'm gonna try to speed through some of it. But I do want to leave on a high note. So Lauren, in a second, I'm gonna come to you and we'll come to each of you. But starting with you, on what are you excited about for next year and the future of your company and stuff, right? So give me some time to chew on that for a second. On what's attractive to VCs currently. What I see of, and what Craig kind of alluded to, this is not whole, this is kind of general. Either you AI or you ain't. It's just that simple, right? And in talking to one of our funders that funds a lot of black startups, this is the recent conversation. They're literally only going to invest in AI startups from here on out. And next year they're doing 50% of what they did last year. So only in AI startups, it's a black-lit AI startups, from here on out, or for at least for next year, and they're doing 50% of what they did for this year. So they're doing the research to try to figure out how many Black-led AI startups. So they go to Crunchbase. They find 40,000 AI startups out there in Crunchbase. They do a filter. This is the meeting yesterday. They do a filter. Black-led AI startups in the U.S. that are beyond an idea. 150. 40,000 to 150. And then they do another filter. Of that 150, who's actually raised money? They get it down to 20 companies. I'm saying all this to say to kind of paint a picture of, again, if you're a Black founder and you're trying, if you're not in the AI space, it may be difficult. Super general. It may be much more difficult for you to raise money in 2024, right? Super general. Plenty of people will get funded. They're not AI, but that's the conversations people have already had and they're continuing to have as they plan for next year. So anyway,
isn't your last statement? Say I was a super AI, but I haven't raised any money as of yet. Right? Then by that same search, doesn't matter. Probably not going to be funded. I'm not in Crunchbase. I haven't raised any money. I have a great AI idea, but I haven't raised any money. So when they go into the search,
true.
So it doesn't matter. So the only thing in that math equation that you mentioned matter is that if a person already got funded.
Well, to a certain extent, I think what it actually is in Crunchbase, those people do have a product, right? So that apparently that does show. Again, this is based on what they told me. I haven't verified it. So they are in Crunchbase. They have a product. Maybe they haven't raised like a lot of. Maybe it's a little bit. Maybe they're coming out of a Techstars with like 20,000.
Okay.
Or something like that.
So some raise.
Just a little bit. Just a little chunk of change, relatively speaking. So, but again, this is a meeting that well-known funder has shared with me as of yesterday.
One thing we didn't talk about before we get into what we're excited about, primarily we're talking about institutional capital. So depending on how early you are, that might not even, listen, doctors, lawyers, accountants, dentists. I was out there hustling. I talked to my barber about giving me some money in the early days. I was like, bro, what you got going on over there? Like, you, in the early days, depending on where you're at with your company, you may not need to go to the institutional people. It may just be people that believe in you that can write a $10,000, $25,000, $50,000 check. So stage and type of capital also matter too. And in any market, high net worth individuals or people that are in industries that are highly liquid, like commercial real estate or things like that, you can get money from individuals a lot of times a little bit easier. Who got a lot of money is the PI, the ambulance chasers, the attorneys. They make a lot of money, and I'm serious in commercial real estate. So those are places you might could go get $50,000 to $100,000 and just kind of last and survive if that's what you're trying to do. So also keep that in mind, just kind of based on stage and types of capital you want to raise.
I think as we talk about the future, especially in a city like Atlanta, like the development of the group of people that can invest at the angel level, family and friends level for Black startups is going to be the things that separates us moving forward. If we don't get that shit right next year in 2025, it won't really matter, quite honestly. In my opinion, obviously. Lauren,
What am I excited about?
what are you excited about?
So this year for me was a bootstrap, figure it out type of year. Like I said, I went to market in August. I brought team members on just before that, so like July, August timeframe. So it was getting acclimated with those people. I was learning, how are we going to market it? What are we saying? What are we doing? Who's our customer? How do we go after them? Like all those things. So next year, like I said, I'm in the middle of a fundraise, so fingers crossed that closes. I'm excited to go into the new year with that, to be able to grow my team and for future developments, further developments on my product, to be able to grow that further. I also want to expand verticals. I started in a specific vertical because it's the industry that I came from, but I see application for my app and software and other industries as well. So next year for me is a growth year in terms of team members and product.
There it is. Antonia, what about you? What are you excited about?
I'm always excited about solutions that solve problems for real people today. Like, I am not someone who was ever excited about the metaverse. I am excited about the things that solve a real problem that someone today is experiencing, because then that customer exists. And now it's just about finding them and telling them how your solution is better than whatever they're currently dealing with. So I'm excited always about seeing those kinds of things. I'm interested in things like climate solutions, because the reality is the folks around the world that bear the brunt in climate change look like this room. So we need to have a space at that table and be contributing our solutions and things that make sense. I'm excited I see a lot of companies of Black founders solving uniquely Black problems, and I love that, because so often our things have been disregarded. So I've seen companies that are solving problems for like hair braiders who are standing on their feet all day, or for churches, for barbershops, for the kinds of things that are institutions in our community that maybe other folks aren't necessarily paying attention to. And I'm always excited about the resilience of Black founders, because yes, 2023 is hard. 2024 is probably going to stay about the same. But the reality is it was hard to raise money as a Black founder in 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018. I think at our heights, like when the checks were coming the easiest, Black founders got 2.1% of total VC funding, which is it was about $330 billion in 2021, and we got about 2.1% of it. So it's always been tough. And what that does is breed a high level of resilience. I see founders that are incredibly capital efficient, that have been managing costs, have been managing margin, have been managing cash reserves from jump because they've never had another choice. Like Craig said, if it takes you 3 years to raise what it's taking someone else 9 months to raise, you always have to be really, really good about it. And so I'm always excited because I see dope Black founders every day. I see more great deals than what I can actually invest in. And I'm excited that even in tough conditions, the folks that are really focused and really passionate about what they believe in are going to continue to keep working and still, be able to raise money and still be able to be out in the marketplace.
There it is. Great.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited about the same thing. I think this is our market. This is our time. Like, it is always difficult for us. And when you look around, some of our counterparts from the Caucasus Mountains, they ain't trying to grind like that. They'd rather let the company fold, take that L, and move on. We are primed and perfectly positioned to be successful in this market. I am excited about our ability to execute in scarcity, but also find our place of scale and abundance. And I think in 24, for those of us that do survive and those of us that do manage, I think as we go into 25, we're going to be perfectly positioned to experience abundance and scale with or without institutional capital from VCs. And so that is really exciting when I look at audacious, bold, courageous founders that I'm invested in, or hell, when I'm looking in the mirror. Like, that is exciting that we can manage through these difficult times that everyone else is now aware of and set ourselves up for success as we go into 25. We just know how to figure it out. And I think, again, the education, the support infrastructure, all of the people that are pouring into us, some of the founders now that are having success, all of the attention is going to help catapult us into this place of abundance and scale as we get through the next, 12 to 15 months. That is really, really exciting. We will see more Black unicorns, and the seed of that will true unicorns. Not like I got $10 million of revenue and somebody says I'm worth $1 billion. Like, truly built a unicorn. You will see more Black unicorns, male and female. That is exciting. It won't happen in 24, but that'll be the nucleus of it, right? That'll be the genesis of a lot of abundance and success for us. That is really exciting to me. I'm going to be a part of that too. I'm with it. So I ain't just here as a witness. I am here to participate.
There it is. How can people get in contact with you?
I'm Craig J. Lewis on everything. Twitter, Instagram, is X. Twitter actually is Craig Jamal Lewis. Everywhere else is Craig J. Lewis. And then we're GigWage.com.
So I am Antonia at blackopsvc.com. Really, really easy to find. We're Black Operator Ventures. So if you search us, you find our website. The way to get in touch with me is Antonia at our URL. So I would love to hear from y'all.
There it is.
Lauren Wilson on most platforms. My email is lwilson@imin2.com. Our website's www.imin2.com.
There it is. Awesome. You can find me, Joey Womack, on LinkedIn, probably the easiest way. So give it up for these dope folks.
Thank you all so much.